In the early 1900s, people came to visit the Upper McKenzie, not for a day or even a night. Many came for weeks or the entire summer. This was when the winding road along the McKenzie River was dirt, and the stagecoach ride from Eugene to McKenzie Bridge took 12 hours. Travelers came to soak in the healing hot mineral spring waters, others to cast a line for the wild trout of the McKenzie. And here's a glimpse of some of the special places where they stayed. As we step back in time, we begin our travels at Belknap Hot Springs in the 1920s. Here we see Millie and Ola Jacobus gleefully crossing a wooden bridge over the McKenzie on their way to soak in the hot mineral spring waters. As Millie and Ola enjoy their swim with friends, notice what looks like a flume behind them, directing the hot mineral spring water to the pool. Later, the suspension bridge also served to support a pipe that moved the water from the spring across the river to the bathhouse. Belknap Springs was said to be in its heyday in the Roaring '20s. Improvements were made, including a new lodge, post office, restaurants, swimming pool, cabins, and a dance hall. In 1912, Carrie Thompson built a large farmhouse on the south bank of the McKenzie River near Vida that later became Thompson's Lodge. When guests later arrived by automobile, they were asked to sound their horn to announce their arrival. Someone would then meet them to carry their baggage across the swinging footbridge to the lodge. Thompson was the first man to take a fisherman down the river in a boat for a fee. A boat and guide, $6 to $9 a day. Room at the lodge, $3.50 to $4.25 a night. This lodge was operated by fishermen for fishermen and catered to the hardy sportsmen. You didn't have to change out of your fishing clothes for dinner. The original log cabin inn at McKenzie Bridge was first erected by George and Melvina Frizzell in 1885. Here we see a horse-drawn wagon waiting as guests gather on the veranda of the two-story log structure that contained 19 rooms. Following a disastrous fire that burned down the original inn in 1906, the log cabin inn was rebuilt in 1907. This rustic inn was described as a close replica of the original, with walls built of logs and poles, used as decorative railings and sidings in the gabled ends. George and Melvina Frizzell, affectionately known as Uncle and Auntie, are seen here on the board walkway in front of the log cabin inn. Notice the weather station box mounted on the fence behind them. In the 1930s, Sparks Ranch near Blue River was a stage stop for the Oregon Motor Coach, offering a hotel, ice cream parlor, general store, and guided fishing trips. Captured in time, we see McKenzie River guides Prince and Ben Helfrich, Ed Thurston, Howard Montgomery, and others waiting to take guests of Sparks Ranch for a day of fishing on the McKenzie. This photograph from the early 1900s shows the Nimrod Inn, also known as the McKenzie Anglers Club near Nimrod. Guests rode a ferry operated by a cable over a smooth stretch of the McKenzie to get to the inn. Here we spend an evening with guests of the inn as they relax in front of the cobblestone fireplace. Imagine the fireside stories shared about their grand adventures along the McKenzie. Notice the unique design and craftsmanship of the staircase at the Nimrod Inn. On occasion, there was dancing in the evening, and guests were invited to bring their own instruments. Lomo Lodge in McKenzie Bridge was built in 1932. The log cabin lodge has two tall stone fireplaces with hand-hewn beams spanning 30 feet. Several bearskins adorn the walls, purchased from Alaskan fur traders by the original owner, W.E. Crum. Lomo means quiet and restful place. The grounds were well tended and included a smaller log cabin, a water tower, and a peeling barn where the logs for the lodge were prepared. Here, Mrs. Crumb stands at the entrance to the Lomo Lodge. You may recognize this grand entrance. The entrance and the lodge still exist today. In 1870, Dr. Abram Foley purchased 160 acres near McKenzie Bridge containing a hot mineral spring. Dr. Foley had faith in the healing powers of the mineral waters and soon opened the springs to the public under the name Bethesda Hot Springs. After Foley's death in 1880, Peter Rooney purchased the property for $1,200. Rooney established the Foley Springs Post Office, seen here on the left, and built the covered swimming rink in the background. Here we see inside the covered mineral spring pool with a swinging bar and rings hanging over the water. The bathhouse offered 10 individual bathing rooms, each with a steam chest, cot, and a large tub carved from cedar logs. This more stately white hotel was built at Foley Springs in 1916 by Ella Rooney Haflinger. Before the automobile, the stagecoach run from Eugene to Foley Springs took 12 hours. The long trip was worth it and became one of the most popular places for the well-to-do to come and stay for the summer season. Foley Hot Springs closed to the public in 1940. Most of the historic lodges of the McKenzie are long gone now, like the people who built them. They live on in our stories and in our memories of the great McKenzie River. We hope you enjoyed this glimpse of early life along the McKenzie River in Oregon. Special thanks to the Lane County Historical Museum, Curtis Irish, the Helfrich family, and Mark Stafford. And I'm Bob Warren for the McKenzie River Trust. The McKenzie River Trust helps people protect and care for the lands and rivers they cherish in Western Oregon.